Hey everyone, in today's video we're going to learn how to make Dumbo. I do apologise in advance because for some reason I cannot find the part of the video that does the ears and the part that just swaps over the water squirt at the top. But we're going to learn how to make the top part and I'll talk you through the parts that are missing. So for the start we're going to make the body shape of Dumbo. Now when I did this I put in half of this into the cake to give it a little bit of support and the other half was out. You want to roll a sort of a dome shape and take any excess off. It doesn't need to be too big, and then we're going to stick a cocktail stick in there and leave it to dry. Next we're going to work on the face, so you want to take a kind of like fat egg shape, line it in the middle and then roll the brush out, and this is going to flatten the area for the eyes and give us a bit of shape for the mouth as well. You're just going to go over it with your fingers and smooth the area out, and then we're going to put the mouth in. So I've got my I call it a scalpel, I think some people call it a craft knife, and we're just going to create the line for the mouth and lift the top lip up a little bit. So you can see it comes out a little bit more than the rest, and then we're going to pull the bottom lip down. So this is going to create an open mouth, and once you've smoothed out the inside we're going to draw around that bottom line, and that's just going to create the bottom lip area, and you want to work your way around up until it meets up at the corner of the mouth that we've just made. So I'm just using my fingers to do this and smoothing back over with my modelling tool. I'm just going to push that up into the top corner, and the same again with the other side. And once you're happy with that, we're then going to put in some black for the mouth. So I'm just attaching this with a little bit of water and pushing it into place with my modelling tool. Just re-going over the lip area if needed, and I'm going to put some dimples in there, and then we're going to move on to the eye area. So again, just reshaping and smoothing any areas that need it, and we're just going to draw a rough outline of where we would like the eye to go, and then we're going to push this area in with our modelling tool just so that it dips in a little bit so the white can sit in there instead of sitting on top. And this allows you to redefine the shape if need be, make it a little bit bigger or smooth out any rough edges, and then just a tiny little bit of modelling paste, and we're going to stick that in. And once you're happy with one eye, you need to recreate that with the other one, and then we're just going to work up putting the lines in on the head. So there's a little bit of a dint in the middle and then the eye sockets around. So I did have a picture of Dumbo whilst I was making this, just so that I could go over those lines, because he doesn't have a smooth face and it is quite lumpy and bumpy. We're going to work on the trunk, so just rolling out a cylinder shape that's pointy at one end, and we're going to stick our modelling tool in the middle of there, and that's going to create the spout. And then we're going to attach this onto the face with a little bit of water. So you can see I've flattened out the edge there, and I'm just trying it on for size. The nose, the trunk, wants to hang over the top lip slightly. And then once you're happy with the shape, we're going to blend in the area around the nose. I'm going to attach the trunk with some water, but then for some additional support, and because we're going to have water spurting out the top, I'm going to place a cocktail stick in through the nose, and this will go into the head as well. So you don't need much to stick out the other side. The water spurt that we're going to attach is going to be attached with a polystyrene ball, so it is just the little bit that needs to be sticking into there. So I'm putting it in and I'm twisting it as I'm going in so that I'm not wrecking the trunk that I've just made. And then I'm putting some lines on with my scalpel and just re-pushing in the mouth and pulling down the bottom lip if need be. Then we're going to blend in the join. So I like to put a little bit of water on my modelling tool, and then we're just going to push this down, and it's going to blend in that line. Sometimes it looks like it's still quite noticeable, but once it's dried, that sort of line tends to just go away. So now we're going to just re-go over the face, smoothing out any areas. So I've put some little creases underneath the eye, and I'm redefining the top of the eyes just with my fingers. And just smoothing out the top of the head. So you can see I've created some little cheek areas. I'm pushing up at the bottom of the lip and pushing down at the side of the eye. That's going to create some cheeks. And now we're going to go on and colour some blue, and that blue is going to make the pupils of our eyes. Now, as I said, this one is spurting out water, so the blue for the eyes wants to be at the top, and they both need to be in the same position. So I'm putting these so they're both in the centre. Having trouble picking that bit up there, but just pop it on and smooth it into place. You can trim off any excess. So when you've stuck both of your blue bits on, I've just got some aqua, and I'm going to paint around the blue modelling paste that we just put on. And I've got a really thin brush, and you can see I'm just doing the outline first, and then I'm going to take another brush and I'm just going to pull that colour in. So this is a thicker brush and it's a little bit drier, and you can see I'm just lifting up that colour and pulling it into the centre of the eye. You can re-go over the outline if needed, if you wanted it to be a little bit darker. So you can see I'm just going around the outline again, just to make it a little bit darker. And then we're going to do the same for the other eye. So now we're going to stick the pupils on the eye. So again, just a little bit of black modelling paste, and these again need to be in the same place on each eye. So just a tiny ball, and I'm just flattening that out with my finger, and then I'm going to place them at the top of the eyes to more go with the theme that Dumbo is looking up. So I'm not attaching it with any water or anything because there is already some on the eyes from where we've just painted them, so it shouldn't need any more. And I'm just going to roll that bit a little bit smaller and then push that into place. Next we're going to do some the eyeliner. So again, a smaller piece of the black fondant rolled really thin, and we're just going to wet that area and push that round with our brush, trimming off any excess. So you can see I'm just taking off the excess there, and then we're going to work on doing the eyelashes. So similar kind of thing, we're going to roll some really small strips of the black fondant, and we're just going to place that on top of the eye. So you can see I'm pushing it and just making it pointy at one side. And we're just going to stick that in place. Now both of the eyelashes from the picture that I've got are slightly bent outwards towards the side of the face, and we're just going to do the same again, and then pat it down and give it that bend. And then we're going to do the little bits of whites in the eyes. So again, take a small piece of fondant and then make it even smaller, and we're just going to flatten that with our fingers and stick that on the black part of the eye. You're going to do the same for the other one, and remember that the white pieces need to go on the same side of the eye. So once you've done both eyes, we're then going to paint the underneath of the eye just with a little bit of black. Doesn't need to be too thick. And then we're going to do the same with the other side. Now you might notice that the face looks a bit sticky, a little bit wet. That's just where we've blended the nose into the cheeks, and it'll take about an hour or so to dry, and then you will actually be able to see that once the face is finished. So I've just used a really small brush just to achieve that line, and you can use a different brush just to take off any excess if there is any. So next we're going to create something for the head to sit on. So I'm just extending the back of the head. I've chose to do it this way when the face is already done, so that whilst I'm working on the face, the back of the head isn't going flat or it's not sinking. So once the face has had time to dry, and I've then gone to attach this part of the head on. Now, the head from the picture that I had, he had sort of like a dint halfway where it dipped in and then it came back up again. So again, adding the back of the head on in this way made it easier to sort of have that dint as well. And I'm just using the same method that I used for the nose. So I've just wet the fondant around the rim, and then you can see I'm just pushing and pulling, and then I'm smoothing that area over. And you're going to do this all the way around the head, and that's going to totally join in that line so you won't be able to see it. I'm going to take off any excess that I've got. So if you've made the head a little bit too big or a little bit too thick, you'll know once you try to stick it on the body what needs to come off and what needs to stay. You can re-wet it if you needed to, just to re-go over the lines. And you can see I'm just using my fingers. Your fingers might stick to it a little bit. If that happens, you just need to put a little bit of Trex on your fingers and then start to blend it in, and it'll stop your fingers from sticking and pulling the fondant. So you can see it looks really tacky and wet, but that will dry. So we're going to try it on the body that we made earlier, just to make sure that the body's going to be the right size. And then what I did was, because the body was a bit pointed, I wrapped a little bit of fondant around the back and then blended that in again, just to give the head the support and make the bottom bit a bit thicker. This is my first time doing a Dumbo, or even any kind of elephant. You can see there that I'm just taking off any excess from the back of the head that needs to come off. So yeah, this is my first time making an elephant, and I've just kind of gone with what I thought I needed to do, and then made the changes as I've been making the elephant figure. So hindsight, I would have made the base bit a little bit fatter with possibly no, you see how it comes skinnier at the top? I would have done that a little bit of a different shape. But I've got some more of my grey modelling paste, and you can see I'm just sticking that on, and then you're going to blend in that area just the same as what we did with the head and what we've done with the nose. And you're just going to blend, push it up and then push it down with a little bit of water, and that's just going to fill in those gaps that we've got at the back. Again, if it gets a little bit sticky, you can use a little bit of Trex, and that'll stop it from sticking. And then once you've added the bit at the back, I'm just going to add another bit at the front, just underneath the neck. So again, yeah, if I was to do this again, I would have made the bottom bit a little bit thicker, and I wouldn't have needed to add as much fondant at this stage. So if you go ahead and make this, if you make it a little bit thicker, you can completely miss this part out. And you can see I'm just pushing it in with my fingers and just blending in that line. So once you're happy with the shape of Dumbo, he's holding himself up, and you've blended in all the lines, we're going to work on the water squirt. Now for the water squirt, I used Saraceno, and I basically rolled it out quite thin, used a circle cookie cutter, and then just used my scalpel just to take out sort of, to make it, I guess, a bit like a flower shape. So I've just taken out some areas and rounded it off. Now you're going to do 3 of these in total in 3 different sizes, so 1 large, 1 medium, 1 small, and then we're going to leave these to dry around a polystyrene ball. Now I had a large polystyrene ball. I'll put the size of it in the description box below. And then when it was all dried and it was going on Dumbo, I took it off and I put it on a smaller polystyrene ball, so you couldn't see that polystyrene ball once it was on the cake. So you can see I've trimmed all the way around and I've smoothed out my edges and rounded them off a little bit. And then I've got my large polystyrene ball, put some corn flour on there and just place that on top of it and left it to dry. So just pushing it into place. I've got a cocktail stick that I'm going to put through the top, and that's going to keep it in place. I'm setting that aside to dry. And then we're going to do the same another 2 times with smaller sizes to then place on the same polystyrene ball that we've got. Now, the cocktail stick that is in Dumbo's nose, the smaller polystyrene ball that you're going to stick on, if you put a hole in that polystyrene ball with a cocktail stick, and then all I did was I put a tiny little piece of fondant inside that hole, and then put a little bit of water, and then I put that polystyrene ball on the cocktail stick that's sticking out of Dumbo's nose, and that sticks that to the cocktail stick, ready for this when it's ready to go on. So similar kind of shape. It doesn't have to be identical to the one that you've just done, because it's supposed to give the image of water falling, which is not the same all the way around. And then you're just going to do the same again, but with the smaller piece. Now the hole that's going to be in the top of these pieces I wouldn't worry about, because the finished product, you can see that I've put some little bits of water to make it look like it's water falling, some little droplets which hide the hole that we've put in now when we're attaching it with the cocktail stick. So I coloured this, and I used Sugar Flare, and I used the Ice Blue, I think it's called. I will put a link again to that in the description box. You can see it there on the side. So I've just taken some white, and I'm just going to wrap this around the cocktail stick so you can't see that either. So just using some water to attach that, wrap it round. I've got some scissors what I'm trimming off any excess for. And then we're going to make some colours. So we're going to use the blue in one dish, and I've mixed it with some dipping solution. And then in the other dish I've got white, and we're going to build up a watercolour on the bits of water that we've just created. I left it on the larger bowl for me to be able to do this. The larger polystyrene ball, sorry, for me to be able to do this. Now, it did take quite a while, but that's because, you know, I like to play around with the colours and get that, get it looking the way that I wanted, and I needed to remix some colours. So I started off with the blue first, and I then moved on to the white, adding the white into where I needed to go, and I painted, once it had dried, I painted it with liquid glucose, which actually gave it sort of like a water driplet effect. So it made it really shiny, but it also let some driplets form on there as well, which looked really good. So taking off the two layers and starting to paint this base layer, and then we're going to move on to add each layer as this goes on until we've painted all three layers. So whilst I'm doing this, I'll talk you through the ears. So basically what I did is I made my cake, I decorated it as a bucket, I covered the top part in white fondant, I cut out a hole the same size as Dumbo, and I placed that into that hole. Once he was in there, I painted the blue the same way that I'm painting this bit now. So I painted the blue for the water, and then I rolled out the ears. So I took some of my grey fondant, I rolled it out quite thin, and I then rolled out some pink fondant and stuck that on the top of there, and then I cut out a tear drop shape, and then I rolled, once both colours were on top of each other, I rolled them out again just to make it really, really thin. And then I just attached these to the side of Dumbo's head with water, and sort of draped them over the side of the bucket that you'll see at the end, and just tried to give it a really natural look, having lots of movement in there, because his ears are quite large. And then I just propped it up with little bits of tissue if needed be, and then allowed it to dry. So you can see I've mixed some of the white sugar flare, and I'm just now going to paint the bottom going in the different directions. Instead of coming down, I'm flicking it back up, and that's just going to give a really nice sort of two-tone effect. I think I left this to dry overnight on the large ball, and then morning it was more than hard enough. It just pops off because we put the corn flour on there, so it's not stuck to there. And I just put a little bit of water on the smaller polystyrene ball, and it stuck to there. And then I just, pop that polystyrene ball onto the end of Dumbo's nose. If you do get stuck, you want any help, you can reach out to me on Facebook. I'll put the link again for the description box below. I do have a Facebook group called Cake Nation Academy. I share all of my tutorials in there. You can speak to me in there. You can request different tutorials. You can speak to me about any tutorials that I've got. You can ask questions. I can help you out. I'm willing to help anybody out as much as I can. So you could search for that on Facebook. Again, I've got my Facebook page, I've got my Instagram page. There's so many ways that you can, get to chat to me. I'll put my email address in the description box below. You can reach out to me that way if you wanted as well. So once the third layer is on, so you can see I'm just mixing between the blue and the white. But once the third layer is on, if you leave it to dry overnight, and then the liquid glucose, I used Dr. Oetker? I used his liquid glucose and just painted it on with a dry brush, and it did give a really, really nice effect. The little balls of droplets that I rolled, again, just modelling paste, just white bits of modelling paste, and then they were just painted in the same kind of blues. You don't have to spend as much time going over this if you didn't want to. It's just I do like to see the variation in colour between the white and the blue. If you think of any other tutorials that you would like to see me do, you could pop it in the description box below or reach out to me on Facebook. Like I say, I'll put the link in the description box below. Once you've finished painting this and you've left it to dry, you need to paint the water spout that's coming out of Dumbo's nose. Again, that is going to be with the same colour that we've done before. So just painting it a bit of blue. With the dipping solution as well, it can dry out quite quickly. You just need to add a little bit more to rejuvenate it, and then it's fine to work with. So again, I am sorry that part of the video did get cut off. I'm not too sure about why that happened. I didn't want to not do the tutorial just because that small bit was missing, because I think that with everything that is here, there's enough for you to then go on and create it again yourself. Once you've popped the ears on and you've popped Dumbo into the cake, you should have something that looks like this. So you can see around the neck I've put some ripples of water and just some small little bits of white fondant for bubbles within the top of the cake. I hope you like this tutorial. If you did, if you hit the subscribe button and the like button down below. If you want to see any more of my tutorials, please feel free to click the links on the screen now. Thanks for watching.